Hi, this is nutritionist John Erickson, and the topic of today's video newsletter is how to structure your diet correctly. I got an email from Sarah, and she says, "Hi John, so I've been truly inspired by you since I watched your interview 2 weeks ago on the Total Body Shaping page. I have two small children who like their snacks. It's so expensive buying healthy and organic food, especially for a family of 5. I disagree because the core fat loss plan consists of mostly whole fruits and vegetables, and when you combine your meals properly, each core fat loss meal should last your body 4 to 5 hours before it's time to eat again. So you should not be hungry within the time frame of 4 to 5 hours after each meal. So the core fat loss plan makes your body more fuel efficient, and you're able to get by on a fewer level of calories and control your blood sugar for a long period of time before it's time to eat again. If you notice when you follow the core fat loss plan, you'll have less garbage going out to the garbage men because you're buying less packaging when you focus on balancing your meals properly. One of the downfalls of buying a lot of fruits and vegetables is you have to pay very close attention to your inventory, because for me, I have a problem eating fruits and vegetables before they go bad. I like to buy frozen vegetables just because they last in your freezer for a long period of time before they go bad, and they don't require any preparation. For example, tri-colored peppers already chopped for you, throw them right in a pan and you're done. So that's one thing I wanted to mention about the comment that you made about being so expensive. Also, I do not mandate organic food. That's a personal preference. Okay, so for breakfast, Sarah filled out the diet evaluation on my page for free, and remember, if you fill one out, please allow 2 to 3 weeks for a response, and some I cannot respond to. You need to provide me with enough information, and don't make it too long, no more than two to three paragraphs. Okay, so for breakfast, Sarah says that she has a fat-free Greek yogurt, peach flavor, and that's not a breakfast, that's a snack. And because it's only 100 to 200 calories of this commercial Greek yogurt with the built-in fruit. So you need to, first of all, have a full-size meal to consider it a breakfast. And instead of this meal, I would have 0% plain Greek yogurt, 3/4 of a cup. I would add your own berries, 1 cup of berries, and some slivered almonds or a couple of pistachios. And my diet manuals tell you the exact amount that you need. Is either in my Recipes for Fat Loss book, or the shopping guide shows you exactly what portions to use in your meals. So you would have Greek yogurt, berries, and nuts as a meal, and you would make it complete and full so it would last you 4 to 5 hours instead of having just a snack for breakfast. Because your next meal is a morning snack, which is another snack. So I just want you to know that you're currently having 2 snacks in a row, but I'd rather you have a main meal, and then you can push your morning snack a little further away. And Sarah's morning snack is an apple with some peanut butter, natural peanut butter, which is a great meal because the apple is the carbohydrate and the peanut butter has the protein and the fat in it. So that's a complete balanced snack. So stick with that morning snack. And for lunch, Sarah has a small cup of turkey barley soup, which is a great meal because it has protein and carbohydrates is the barley, which is the slowest absorbing grain on record. Barley is the best fat-burning grain, so stick with that meal. Sarah also has a choice of 3 things for lunch. She has either the turkey barley soup or a grilled chicken cutlet with fresh pineapple chunks and green beans and mushrooms. That is a really good meal, except it has no fat. So you have a grilled chicken cutlet, which is the protein, the fresh pineapple chunks. You should have 3/4 of a cup to keep it in check. And the green beans and mushrooms are free foods, which I know that they're there, but they don't give you much carbohydrates out of them. So I mainly focus on the main carbohydrate of that meal is going to be the pineapple. And you just need a fat source, so add something like 6 almonds or cashews to that meal and you'll be fine. You can also have the Blue Diamond makes those 100 calorie snack packs of almonds in it. You can just have one of those and it's easy to throw in your pocketbook. The third meal that Sarah has for lunch is that she says she hits the salad bar at work. I have spinach, cucumber, tomato, grilled chicken, fresh mozzarella, roasted tomatoes, diced beets, marinated mushrooms, and she uses oil and vinegar. That's a great meal because the chicken is the protein. You have all the free carbohydrates, so the spinach, cucumber, tomato, and red peppers and mushrooms. That's going to be your free carbohydrates. And your dense carbohydrate, which you should have 1 per meal, is your beets, which is perfect. You should have 1/2 cup of beets, and oil and vinegar is perfect. So that's a perfect meal. Keep doing one of these 3 meals are perfect, except like I mentioned, you should have a fat source with the grilled chicken. Okay, and now as a daytime snack, Sarah says that she has organic unsweetened applesauce as a daytime snack. The unsweetened applesauce is your carbohydrate, so you have to add something like a hard-boiled egg to that meal, which is protein and fat, to balance it out. So that would be good, just balance it out a little more. And that'll make your body last a longer period of time and hold you over better until you get to the dinner time. She says that her kid-friendly crap dinners is normally oven-fried chicken cutlets, skinless, or pork chops, brown rice, and a vegetable. So that would be perfect. You would have your protein is a chicken cutlet, your pork is your protein, and you should have half a cup brown rice, chop vegetables in it and make it bigger, and that would be perfect. Add olive oil in the cooking process. And if you wanted to have, I know you have kids, so if you wanted to have breaded chicken cutlets, you would have, a typical breaded chicken cutlet has about 15 grams of carbohydrates on the breading. So you would just have to have less rice. Probably have a breaded chicken cutlet, 1/3 cup of rice, and your vegetable, and you'll be fine. Sarah's just like me too. She also likes to have eggs and toast for dinner. I also like to have breakfast for dinner. I love cooking an omelet for dinner because I have a lot of time to cook, and omelets are always good. So she has eggs and eggs and toast for dinner. And that's a good meal. I would just want you to have 1 whole egg and 2 to 3 whites as your protein source, just to make it to have the proper amount of protein. And your toast should be minus the crust, and it should be a high fiber toast and gluten-free if you're gluten-free. And your fat source could either be in the yolk or the olive oil that you use to cook the eggs, or butter on the bread. So try to only have 1 of those per meal, so you only have 1 fat source. 2 if you really need it. You can cook your eggs in olive oil cooking spray to cut down on the amount of fat. Okay, so that's perfect. And her after dinner snack is an apple and a peanut butter again, which is perfect. That's balanced with proteins, carbs, and fats. Or Sarah has frozen yogurt as an after dinner snack. And frozen yogurt, I just want you to know that it's high glycemic. You should have a fat source with it. My science actually considers high-fat ice cream better than a fat-free frozen yogurt, because the fat-free frozen yogurt is no different than having Kool-Aid or orange juice, because it's just liquid carbohydrates, sugar, that's once it looks like it's frozen in front of you, but once it goes into your body, it's liquid. So it's just like having orange juice. I want you to just know that. Your stomach doesn't have eyes, and you eat whatever it has, it doesn't know, so it just accepts it as, and secretes insulin, stores fat. But when you have high-fat ice cream, the fat in the ice cream, high-fat ice cream has less carbohydrates and more fat, because that's what takes up the space, and the fat blunts the absorption rate of the carbohydrates because it simply gets in the way. So high-fat ice cream has a low glycemic index, which means you'll secrete less insulin and store less fat. Of course, it all comes down to quantity. You should not have any more than 20 grams of fat-free frozen yogurt or ice cream at one sitting if you're trying to stay steady on the plan, but which is a little less than half a cup of ice cream, of high-fat ice cream, or maybe a little over half a cup of fat-free frozen yogurt, depending on how much fiber is in it and how it's made. So just caution with the fat-free frozen yogurt. I would at least add some nuts to it to help slow the absorption of the carbohydrates in the bloodstream. And if you notice, if you add fat to a meal, somebody would be afraid and say you're adding fat calories, but we're saying you have less insulin, so we're trying to slow the absorption of the carbohydrates at all costs, at all times. And fat is needed at every meal, especially when people lose fat. They need to keep some kind of fat in their body to prevent themselves from getting too skinny. You want to have your skin nice and healthy, and fat also keeps you full, which is important for long-term dieting success. Fat makes up your brain, and fat makes up hormones in your body. So is a hormonal regulator. So it's very important to balance your carbohydrates, and don't worry about your fat. Don't be afraid of fat. Sarah says that for fluids, she adds 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar and 1 tablespoon of organic raw honey into 20 ounces of bottled water. Now, 1 tablespoon of honey has 17 grams of carbohydrates in it. So a 20 ounce of water is a small amount. So you cannot slam that water, because you need 20 grams of carbohydrates in one meal. The 1 tablespoon of honey has 17 grams of carbohydrates. Just put those carbohydrates into perspective. And you need to drink that water over the course of 2 hours. So the honey in that water absorbs slowly over the course of time. It just doesn't rush into your body at once. Okay, artificial sweeteners. When it comes to coffee, I use Sweet and Low and switched to Splenda recently, which I currently use. What is the best sweetener to use? Sarah says. I do not recommend any artificial sweeteners, just as a business perspective. I'm not going to tell anybody to have artificial sweeteners. You should limit or delete them from your program. Everybody, however, does something wrong. So if that's something that you want to do wrong, if you can't do without it, so be it. You can also just have 1 teaspoon of table sugar, which isn't the worst thing. It has like 4 or 5 grams of carbs in it, and that'll absorb slow, moderate pace. At that amount, it's going to absorb slowly. Try to desensitize yourself off of the need for that sugar. I personally put just half and half in my coffee, so I'm not going to recommend any artificial sweeteners. Artificial sweeteners cause an anticipatory response into your body. For example, anybody who lives in Centereach, when they drive by the Good Steer restaurant, smells the burgers. So if you drive by any good restaurant, you smell the burgers being cooked, you start secreting insulin. I drive by the Good Steer, I start secreting insulin and storing fat just by smelling the smoke of the hamburgers coming out of the chimney. So the same thing happens with artificial sweeteners. There's a slight anticipatory response when you have artificial sweeteners, which tricks your tongue into thinking you're having sugar, so you might secrete a little bit of insulin out of your pancreas, but not enough to worry about. So I really wouldn't worry about that. I would just worry more about the toxicity of artificial sweeteners, that they just adding chemical to your body, and try to desensitize yourself away from the need to have that sweet. Okay, so this has been a video newsletter about how to structure your diet correctly. What I did with Sarah's diet is I reorganized it a little bit. All the meals that she has is really good. She's lacking consistency and she has too many children snacks around. A lot of people with children have that big cabinet with loads and loads of Costco, tons of snacks. It's always available for you. And you need to just balance your meals better. Especially when you add fat, you'll be less hungry. You'll be able to handle the snack cravings when you have kid products around more easily. You should work out every single day. Sarah says this, she works out. She's not consistent, but if she ate this program, like I said, she would get results. And it's all about organizing your food throughout the day. Every meal needs proteins, carbs, and fats, and you also have to focus on the types of carbohydrates you're eating and never not eat your fat, because then you're going to be hungry. And being full is essential for long-term dieting success. Thank you. If you have any questions, you can visit my website, and please allow 2 to 3 weeks for a response, and I cannot respond to everybody unless you give me a clean diet evaluation. Some people do not give me enough information, or they give me too much information, so it's got to be perfect so I can decipher what you're saying. And thank you, and stay tuned for the next video newsletter. This is John Erickson, your nutritionist and trainer in one.